Hello, I'm Suzanne Crouch, Lieutenant Governor of Indiana, here for our Fireside Legislative Chats, and I have with me today an incredible public servant, Peggy Mayfield. Peggy, you have been a state representative. You're in a minority as a woman, but tell me why and how did you end up deciding to get involved in public service?
Well, my first elected office, my only other elected office, was as the county clerk.
And that's when I first met you.
That's true. And believe me, I never, ever saw myself as being an elected official. It was an opportunity that came up. I was encouraged, like most women, we don't think of it on our own. We're asked to run for office. And when I thought about it, I thought, I can do everything that this office requires. And so I said yes. In the course of that office, I was asked to testify on a couple bills that affected clerks, and that was really my exposure, my deep exposure to how the whole legislative process works. And I was fascinated by it. The opportunity came up when the current representative decided to retire and not run for another term. And I thought, okay, you either pursue it and give it all you got, or decline and never look back saying woulda, coulda, shoulda. So we chose to move ahead, and here I am.
So what do and I was a state rep also, served in the House. I think our time overlapped just a little bit, but it's an interesting process. And what do you find most fascinating, or what have you found most intriguing about being a state rep and the legislative process?
Well, and the process it's more complex than you get in Schoolhouse Rocks.
Yep.
How a bill becomes law, which I use all the time when I visit schools. But the opportunity to realize there is so much more to running this state than you would ever think. You come into the legislature with expertise in your areas of your job and your social engagements. And then you come here and you think you know a lot until you realize there's so much more to learn. So to me, the most fascinating part of this process is the ability to learn about things that I'd never heard of before. And the things that I was familiar with, I get to take that deep dive into how it affects how our state runs. Little details can mean a big difference in the legislative process.
And we have seen how great Indiana is in comparison to other states. And I think that's something that you kind of appreciate more, don't you think, when you're in the actual General Assembly and you learn about what Indiana's doing, and you also learn about what other states are doing, and you kind of then start to appreciate what a great job we do here in Indiana.
Yes, I mean, you can't be the best at everything, but man, we are right up at the top of the list in so many categories that put our state in such a wonderful position, especially coming out of this pandemic, where other states have been making cuts and closures that we never even considered. And we are in a position to make future investments instead of worrying about how we're going to pay our bills.
Mm-hmm. And what I found so fascinating is, in spite of all the challenges we've had with COVID-19, in 2020, we created over 31,000 job commitments, more than we did in 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016. I mean, so that's because of that solid foundation that we have that has helped us weather the storm, and you have been a tremendous part of that, and for that we are grateful. But tell our listeners something about Peggy Mayfield that they may not know. I could tell them some things, but you tell them.
Well, we have a private business. We have an insurance agency in Mooresville, but in the family, my husband's father was a train collector, mostly O-scale, mostly Lionel, but Mike's Train House is in there as well, and some other brands. But we have on display, when we finally got it out of my basement, we had a very large lobby to fill. So we put all the trains on display. Floor to ceiling, we have row after row of Lionel train. And we have a 12 by 20 foot, 3-tier layout that's a permanent display in our lobby.
I've seen it.
And it's we do all kinds of private groups after hours, like the Cub Scouts. They have their little badges for transportation and railroading. But Mooresville has a big event every year, first Saturday in December, called Victorian Christmas. And that is the one day that we open our office to the public and we run the trains all day long. And we will have 400 people plus come through that office. We offer home-baked cookies. So that week I'm also cooking over 2,500 pieces of treats. And it's the one day that we also let the kids touch and operate the buttons for all the accessories. And for over 25 years, we've seen kids grow into adults, and they're now bringing their kids to see this. It's one of the main attractions because people just love to watch trains run.
I know, and I was able to witness that. And then the other thing that you may not know, or people may not know about you, Peggy, is you make the best caramels ever. And I love it when they show up on my desk. But thank you for being here. Thank you for the public servant that you are. You have a true heart for people and serving them, and for that we are grateful. And thank you for joining us for our legislative fireside chat with Representative Peggy Mayfield.